So hi everyone, welcome. I'm Olivia. I'm the founder and director of Amethyst. If you don't know, follow us on Instagram at Amethyst Collab, everywhere, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and whatnot. Cool. And if you don't know, we're up for a South by Southwest panel. So go click on the link in all of our bios, upvote us. It's super easy. It takes like 2 seconds. It's just like liking something on YouTube. Okay, cool. Hi everyone, welcome. We're gonna get started. So first, welcome to our new panel, which is finally we're doing some topic-based panels. And this one is the future of music marketing and brand partnerships. So we have some amazing women here with us today, and we're gonna go ahead and introduce them. So Alison, would you like to start us off?
Yeah, hey, I'm Alison. I'm a coordinator in the Film and TV Music Department at Universal Music Enterprises. We oversee Sync for all of Universal Music Group.
Amazing. Thank you, Alison. And Caitlin, you're up.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Caitlin Marino. I am the Associate Director of New Business for Sony Music Latin-Iberia. I actually joined the company in April, and prior to that, I was at Latin Grammys for 8 years on the sponsorship team.
Awesome. Caitlin, Breon, you are up.
Hi, I'm Breon. I'm the CEO of Blueprint Inc., which is a non-traditional publicity and branding company. And prior to that, I was at Republic Records as a media manager.
Awesome. Okay, Myra, it's all you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Myra Decasto. I'm Vice President of International Marketing over at Universal Music Group East Coast Labels. So I look across Island, Def Jam, and Republic.
Amazing. Thank you, Myra. And Caroline, you're up.
Hi, I'm Caroline. I am a hip hop and R&B marketing director at Artist Partner Group. It's a record label and a publishing company based in LA. So I've been here for about 2 years now, working on all of our hip hop and R&B acts. And before that, I have my own digital marketing company.
That's amazing. Thank you. And Chris, now it's you.
Hey everyone, my name is Chris. I own RnBae, which is a marketing agency catered to R&B experiences and R&B artists. I have a chance to work with indie and label artists. So it's a great time working with them and marketing their R&B projects. So that's what I've been doing for the past 4 years.
Wow, amazing. And thank you to all of our wonderful panelists for being here with us tonight. We are going to jump right into the first question. So what are some exciting developments in brand partnerships and marketing in the music industry to come out of the COVID-19 digital age? What has changed, what is new, and what's next? A big question. So you can all hop into this one.
I guess I'll go first. So I'm not a video game person at all, but to see Travis Scott kind of transform Fortnite was totally like epic for me. I already was a fan of him. I already knew what Fortnite was, but the fact that they were able to integrate video game and live experience, I thought that was just seamless. Definitely love that partnership, and I think it went really well for both parties.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think messaging has been more important than ever this year, both with everything going on in the pandemic, but also it's been kind of a momentous year for activism between the BLM movement, and we have an election this year, obviously. And so, brand partnerships and marketing it's always about authenticity, but I think more than ever, it's about making sure that the artists and the brands that we're partnering up, whether it's major partnerships or even just sync, to make sure that those values align between the artist and the company, so that we can, put out coherent messages.
That's a good one.
For me, on the international side, because I normally travel and do like artist promo all over the world, it's been obviously tough since travel restrictions, right? So what we've had to do is do all these Zoom interviews and meetings and stuff like that. Although now we're all zoomed out, but when COVID first started, I was doing so much promo with artists that I've never done art promo with because they would never travel or we wouldn't have the time. But now that they're home all the time, they were willing to do promo. So that's been the added plus for me on my side.
That's huge.
And then I think...
Yeah. Oh, you go ahead.
Just not necessarily from a brand partnership standpoint, but a brand integration side. So recently talking about this with my colleague Ingrid, and we were focusing in on the Toyota integration at the VMAs. So they specified their integration for the Latin performances, which happen to be Sony artists, Maluma and CNCO. And in a normal year, you know, the VMAs would have taken place in some sort of arena or enclosed space. And this year they got to, you know, get really creative and have the audience be fans in Toyota cars, like watching the performance from the vehicle. So I think that that was really an interesting way to kind of find the silver lining for this year and to be like, okay, well, we can't do anything in person. It needs to be socially distanced, et cetera. Like, how can we make this cool for fans and to find a way to not only bring their product in and have like the best paid integration possible, but to make it a cool experience for the fans and for the performers as well, I thought was really awesome.
Love that one too.
I also feel like what TikTok and Triller have done this year has been huge. Like their fan base has grown massively, especially on Triller. That's really coming up as an app that I work with quite frequently, whether it's having artists do live performances or like premiering music video clips on there, and as well as TikTok. I've seen, you know, a lot of artists like Dua Lipa kind of tease out their music video on there and capturing content leading up to a release. And now they have like R&B vibes this month where they're doing like different R&B acts every single week and having live performances as well. And I think, you know, those are really showing how much they're breaking, you know, hitting the Billboard charts, all of these songs that are trending on TikTok. And now Triller also launched their own Billboard chart as well. So I think, you know, the future of music is also really integrated into apps like that.
I actually like what Clubhouse has done. It's actually brought a lot of people together, even though sometimes it's a bit controversial. I just think that it's super dope that a lot of people get to tap in with music executives and artists and get to hear their opinions and tap in with them on a different level. You know, when outside was open, it was hard sometimes to sit down with certain people like a Scooter Braun or a Tez or Carl Lemire from Billboard. Like it was hard to get in touch with these people. So to be able to have that one-on-one experience and be able to speak to them and speak their mind is really dope as well.
Yeah, it's a big one. Anyone else? Okay, amazing. Yeah, those are all great developments, and I'm excited to see where we're going to take it from there. So the next question is, we all know these huge brand partnerships that have been going on during COVID, like Travis and McDonald's, and now most recently Beyoncé and Peleton. So what do you all think of these partnerships, and do you think that these big partnerships are going to have an effect on the way that artists do brand partnerships in the future?
Absolutely. I think it's definitely going to have an effect on it, just simply based off people have had to think outside of the box. All of the traditional way to do things have went completely out the door. So now people realize, oh, these companies can actually stretch themselves and they can think outside the box and create opportunities that are tailored to the actual artist. So I think that it definitely is going to change. It's not a thing. I know it's going to change because we're seeing it right before our eyes.
That's great. So true.
And not only thinking,
oh, go ahead.
Sorry, Christina. Not only thinking outside the box, but thinking big too, right? Like the Beyoncé and Peleton partnership is incredible, and the corporate social responsibility component that they have with giving the scholarships back to HBCUs is incredible. It's not just like, you know, slapping Beyonce's name on something. It's really making it impactful for her community and for her fans. I think that's great. And one of the other examples I wanted to bring up was the Bad Bunny performance that he did on Univision. So that guy was in quarantine in Puerto Rico, hidden for months. And the only way they brought him out was like, dude, we're going to shut down New York. We're going to put you on a bus. We're going to drive you through all these major neighborhoods. And he agreed to that, right? So I think it's the point of like making it something big, impactful, something that's going to make a huge splash, but ultimately, you know, speaks to the audience of the artist that they want to reach.
For sure. I think that because the consumer is getting smarter, I think the brand partnerships are getting smarter. So I think that we're seeing a lot more streamlined campaigns. So back to the Beyonce and Peleton, I just love how seamless that is because her fans are hardcore fans. They're interested in whatever she wants to do. If Beyonce goes vegan, they're going vegan. If Beyonce is working out and they need a Peloton bike, they're going to go buy that bike. And I love how the content integration really relates to her brand and like her fans. Because these are people that obviously, you know, they work out, they're in Adidas, they love leisure. So it's like they're able to, you know, have that Beyonce love for Beyonce and work out with her like on this Peloton. So I love the seamless like content integration. So that's what I want to see from more people.
That's a great one.
Absolutely. I think it also involves, you know, it's not artists anymore just slapping their name on a brand. It's really involving the artist in the creative process that's behind the campaign. Because when it comes down to it, the artist knows their fans best. And so I think we've been seeing a lot of that lately, and that will be, artists will be very much involved in the creative aspect of branding in the future too.
That's a great point.
And also on a personal, sorry.
Go ahead.
So on a personal level, there was like Weekend, you guys might not know this, but like Weekend did this Mercedes-Benz commercial outside of the United States, all throughout Europe, because the car itself wasn't actually available here yet. But Blinding Lights was actually on this commercial, and stemming off of that, it made it over here. And like the song is the biggest song of his career. You know what I mean? Like it's across all the Spotify charts, all the Apple charts for weeks on end, airplay charts, weeks and weeks and weeks on end. And like it's things like that. It will travel. Like we haven't even seen the commercial here because we're in the States, but it has traveled over. So that's all important.
I also like the fact that the people's lifestyles are really changing now with seeing these brands activations. Like the Peleton, the Beyoncé partnership was just so important to me because you know how people have gained so much weight and have, you know, getting their self-esteem back. You know, like me and Olivia talked about this briefly, like, you know, I just think it's super dope to put a message in front of people and they actually believe in it, because there's so much going around at one point. So like to be able to stamp something, for artists to stamp something that's going to actually change someone's life, I think is very important now too. And I love seeing that in the youth because, you know, it's a lot going on right now, and to have a positive message is super important right now.
That's huge.
And even outside of the Peloton Beyonce thing, I think Peloton's doing their thing right now because they're doing all of these artist series. Like they did a Balvin one, they did a Celia Cruz one, you know, I think they did a Bon Jovi one. Like they're doing their thing over there at Peloton.
Yeah, they're a great case study on artist relations.
Yeah, and along with just exercising as well, they're getting people to exercise indoors. It was a perfect time for this. Like quarantine and this pandemic was perfect time for Peloton, because I'm sure people weren't able to get to their gyms. They weren't able to work out. So like this allows that safe home environment along paired with your favorite artists, along with the content that you're able to ride to. So I just think across the board, they killed it.
Absolutely. I agree.
These have all
been a bike.
Yeah, right. I have Peloton.
I have a Peloton too. It's been amazing.
Yeah. I did the Beyoncé ride this morning to get ready for this combo. It was awesome. If you have Peloton, go to it. So you all mentioned even some other ones like Bad Bunny and The Weeknd. What are some other brand partnerships you've seen that you've been really interested in, or some brands like Peloton that you think are doing a really good job with artist outreach?
I feel like the Travis Scott McDonald's thing was kind of a huge moment because I feel like it tapped into, you know, his audience in a way, especially with the, you know, the commercials that were airing during the NBA finals, and you saw them every single commercial break, and like they had several merch drops that all sold out instantly, and just like really creating that demand and having everyone post about their meal on, you know, Instagram and stuff. And I feel like that was just a really cool way to kind of tap into, you know, such a huge, massive brand, but do it in his own way that still, you know, felt the vibe. And like, you know, the content piece that went viral of him pulling up to like one of the first McDonald's and having all the fans go crazy and stuff too, like, and still showing that energy, even though it was, you know, during COVID. I feel like the way that he did that was really dope.
Just a little sidebar. I loved when, I don't know if you guys saw the video, the kid pulled up to the drive-thru and he's playing the beginning of a song. Like instead of ordering, he's playing a Travis Scott song. Like, can I have and plays the song. I thought that was super dope. And it just goes back to tying into what you said about TikTok and Triller, because all of that content lived on there. And I just thought that was super dope.
Felt like a very authentic collaboration as well, because Travis Scott, even before this, had been posting his videos of him going to McDonald's and whatnot. And so I think it was a good example of a brand really, you know, locking in with an artist who already, already supports what they're doing.
That's a great.
I think one that wasn't publicized, because I think it was just like a private activation in LA. Kehlani actually linked up with Audi to do a drive-in concert. And I know that's going to be a thing next year because I'm personally working on a few. So I think that was a great brand partnership. I love to see how cars and music can integrate. You know, if you're spending time in your car, you are listening to music. So I love the fact that they, you know, allowed that brand partnership to happen seamlessly, because we can't go out and like mingle like we used to anymore. So they improvised, they brought back like an old, old school theme of like the drive-through, and really just, showed out. I don't think it was publicized, but it was definitely a good look for Audi and Kehlani.
I love that. Yeah, I didn't know about that at all. Good one. Anyone else have?
I mean, the year isn't over yet. I'm excited to see more brand partnerships with artists. And also too, just for the top of the year, I can only imagine what's coming down the pipeline for January 2021 with artists, because so much dope music is getting ready to roll out. So I'm excited to see what the future holds as well.
Me too. January is going to be a big month for releases. Can already.
Yeah. Drake is releasing, so it's over.
Yeah, it's over. I think J. Cole's album's getting ready to drop as well at the top of the year. So
Breon, is this insider information you're giving us here?
Hey, listen, I don't know anything. My name is Bennett, and I'm not in it, okay?
Yeah, if you come to Amethyst panels, you get a little sneak peek at what J. Cole said. Okay, everyone. So now we're going to shift a little bit to you all and how you all got here. So what have been some challenging moments in your career, and how did you overcome them?
I mean, I'll kick this one off. I just think being a woman in the music industry is hard, period. I mean, we're the backbone of a lot of things, and I think a lot of times we don't get the flowers or the respect that we deserve. I don't know any of the women on this panel, but I can, just from hearing them speak, I believe that they are probably the core that holds their team together, which is most of the time the case. But the biggest obstacle for me was just, like I said, getting the respect. That was hard for me. I remember going into certain rooms and having ideas and being afraid to speak up about the ideas that I had, because I was afraid someone wasn't going to allow me to be a part of it, that it would just be taken away, and that I wouldn't be able to really put my stamp on it and leave my legacy. And I'm happy that as I got older and I grew in my career, that I stopped being afraid and I spoke up and I stood my ground. So that was very hard for me in my early 20s. And now that I'm a mom, I go even harder when it comes to speaking up and saying like, hey, this is going to work. This is why I think this is going to work. And you're not going to kick me off this project. I'm going to work on it with you. And we're both going to collect the flowers on this. It's going to be a team effort. So that was my obstacle at first.
It's important, Breon.
I think I'll follow that too, that I think the advice we're going to give tonight comes with experience, right? And I think you have to hustle at the beginning of your career and to kind of establish your name. But I think it also gets to a point where balance is so important. And kind of like I mentioned at the beginning of the call, prior to Sony, I was at Latin Grammys for 8 years. And I think being at an organization for so long, you gain a lot of respect and a lot of experience, but also a ton of responsibility. So I think it got to the point where I was always the yes woman, always, taking on whatever task, making sure things got done, etc. But you also have to make time for you, right? So I think, coming into this new job, I made it very known that I'm willing to, work mornings, nights, weekends, whatever, but 6:30 to 7:30, Monday through Friday is my gym hour, and that's my time for me, and that's like my window, right? Above and beyond that, you need me to hop on afterwards, cool, I'm there. But I think it's so important that whatever your thing is, if it's meditation, if it's working out, if it's hanging out with your friends, painting, writing, whatever, like find your window for you. And I think especially in this industry, there's always going to be work, there's always going to be emails, there's always going to be things to do, but make sure you're taking care of yourself and your mental health so that you can continue to tackle projects and be that go-to team player moving forward.
Absolutely.
I definitely agree. I think to piggyback on that, I started my career actually in events. So balancing my work life and my personal life was extremely hard because it seemed like everything was so much fun because I was always at an event. But what people fail to realize, if you're working an event or you're doing production for it, you're not really sitting there enjoying the artist. You don't get to have a drink at the bar. You don't get to take a selfie with your friends or even go backstage and chill with the artist. You're making sure, the lighting's on point, the projector's working, this person says they're on the list that they're not on the list. So sometimes it's just like I couldn't find my work-life balance. And then even when I was going to events for fun, I was thinking about work like, oh, they should move this over here to the left, or why don't they have someone doing over here? So it's just like, I honestly think it's really important, like you said, to find, that time, that space, or whatever it is that's for you, because it's truly important. I can't stress enough how important it is.
That's important, Christina.
That's the thing with COVID and working from home, right? So like in the beginning of all this, I couldn't separate work-home balance. Like there was no way. You would wake up, you would look at your phone, you would start working, go downstairs or whatever, go into wherever your workspace was, and you working, and then all of a sudden it's 10 p.m. and you haven't left your desk, you haven't even stepped outside, and it's tough. Like when offices were open and you would drive to work and you would sit in an hour of traffic, you'd complain and bitch about that, but shoot, like no one can get in touch with you at that time. You weren't answering emails at that time. That was your time. We don't have that now. So it took me probably a month or two into COVID before I realized, okay, Myra, like you need to chill out. Like you need to stop, shut down, and actually shut down. But the problem with international is it's always going to be like 12 o'clock in the afternoon somewhere, you know? So that was always the problem. Because before, back in the day, I get home from work, whatever, 9 o'clock, I can do whatever I got to do and then just check emails at midnight. But that was okay because I would have my time, like I would go to dinner or whatever the fact may be, but we don't have that anymore. So it is extremely important to keep that time for yourself.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like I learned the hard way this year because I have had chronic back pain for the past like 2-3 years. And then I found out during COVID that I have like 3 herniated discs in my neck and all these other symptoms. And I've been on, crazy medication that's made me, really loopy, or I've had to have like some little operations here and there this year. And I feel like that's been the biggest wake up call to me, that although work is like my biggest passion, it's my favorite thing to do, like you have to have a cutoff point and you have to kind of realize it before it's too late. Like I feel like I'm grateful that I was able to really get in touch with my body and, my priorities and my health during all of this, to realize, like you have to kind of have that balance or else it's going to get worse as you get older. And I definitely want to be able to, enjoy life when things go back to normal and be able to have that break and not feel, physically in pain all the time. And that just comes from like telling myself I have to do my physical therapy exercises, or I have to take this window off a couple of days a week to go to physical therapy, and tell people like I'm just not going to be available and not feel guilty about it. Because I feel like, especially when I had my own company before coming to APG, I would feel guilty about not working all the time. Like I would feel guilty about going on social media, or I would feel guilty about watching a TV show, or feel guilty about spending time with my family sometimes, just because there's always something to do, especially with social media. Like it just never stops. So I think, really getting in touch with what you need and separating that from what other people need is such like an important lesson to learn.
Thank you for saying that. I need that particular thing you just said about family, I needed to hear it myself. So you're my little angel today that just said that.
The guilt aspect is huge, especially, as a young woman trying to succeed in a male-dominated industry. When I'm not constantly working, I have that guilt factor. And so, I learned that very early. I had this amazing opportunity. I started full-time at Universal while I was still finishing college. And so it was this crazy balance, and I felt like I was juggling things constantly. And so it was taking a step back and looking at the guilt I was feeling and trying to, divide whether or not that was guilt that I was putting on myself, or was that coming from my workplace? And it wasn't, it was all internal guilt. And so I think it can really motivate us, but I also think there's taking a step back and saying, I don't need to feel guilty right now. I got everything that needs to be done today, and I'm shutting the computer and I'm going to bed.
And I think I would just add on really quickly too, if you can find, if it's owning your own company or working for somebody else, but finding an organization that respects that, I think is so important. Like I've been very, very blessed and feel very grateful to have bosses that understood that personal time, organizations like Sony who are pushing all day, like take the day off, here's mental health, app help. Like they've been so supportive throughout this quarantine that it really shows that working for somebody or for yourself or for whoever that understands that is an important part of being a great employee really does, make a huge difference in your success as an employee, but also happiness as a person.
I also wanted to piggyback at the two. I don't know how many people in the audience are mothers, but also just having going back to what you're saying about balance. My son is 11 months. He turns 1 next month. And that guilt definitely ate me alive when it was time to go back to work, when it was time to, take him to the babysitter or to, split time with his dad. Like, it was very hard for me to focus sometimes, because I know that jumping into work is going to provide for him, but also too, that one-on-one time is just so important when a baby is in the development stages. So I had to, and I still am learning how to have a healthy balance and go to work and not feel guilty for being gone for 5 to 6 hours, but then still being able to come home and spend that one-on-one time with him. That's something I definitely struggled with the first 6 months of his life. And I just think it's very, very important to not beat yourself up as a mom working in the music industry, because there aren't many women that have children. It's kind of frowned upon sometimes. But I just wanted to say that it's okay, and it's definitely possible to do so, because I wake up and do it every day for my son.
That's really important, Breon. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Yeah, that's important. I love that everybody brought up the idea of balance, because I feel like, if anything, this shift to work from home has kind of taught us all over the months that we need to draw those boundaries. So it's good to hear we're all kind of going through the same thing. So the next question, now that we've kind of talked about the challenges we've faced, what are some of the positives of being a woman in the music industry, marketing and branding specifically?
We just kick ass. That's the point. We just kick ass. I mean, excuse my French. I love being a woman in the music industry, just simply based off the fact that everything we do pushes the agenda for the corporations, pushes the agenda for the artists. And I just love how we get to tap in and just utilize our strength and our mental capacities to build brands. I think it's super dope. I call it being a puppet master. We get to attach our strings to people and, push our vibranium or our glitter or whatever you want to call it into something and make people fall in love with it. That's some cool shit, like, period.
I think as women, we are the most creative. I think all of the great ideas and all of the great creativity I hear always comes from women in the room. I also feel like we are the most organized. So when it comes to really getting things done, like, I just know if a woman is handling it, it's going to get done. It's going to get done. You don't have to worry about it. So I just think that that's my favorite part about being a woman in the industry, and positivity is just like, damn, like, we get to be creative, we get to be organized. And then I just think that sometimes women are looked upon for that. So, like, I think there's extra accolades that come with that. Like, oh, I know that Caitlin's going to get it done. I know she is going to get it done. She has 7, 10, 13 years of experience. She's going to get it done. So I feel like that's my favorite part. I just know that they know they're going to be able to count on me.
Things like this as well. I mean, it's so powerful when women are able to get together. I think amazing things are accomplished, especially in industries like this where it is male dominated. And it's so inspiring that whatever we're doing gets to pave the way for other women who want to be in this industry as well.
I love that.
I've been blessed to work both at Latin Grammys and now at Sony on all female teams, and I honestly wouldn't have it any other way. Like, we just know how to work with each other. We know our languages. We know who's going to handle what. Like, worked with a lot of moms on the team too. And to go back to that point, like, moms in the music industry are the true MVPs, because how you guys balance both, for me, I just take my hat off to you. I have a boyfriend at home that I have to take care of, and that's another responsibility. So, like, above and beyond that, you guys really, really are impressive. But I think it's kind of not a maternal instinct, but just something that you guys, we know how to make it happen. We know how to get deadlines. We know how to make magic to, like, get it done. And to everybody else's point, like, it's gonna get done at the end of the day. And I just, like, love that we can count on each other to make sure that everybody succeeds in the projects that they're working on.
I think we're perfectionists as well, because we sit there and overthink and we micromanage ourselves to make sure that it actually gets done. I feel like we're perfectionists. It's gonna look good. Just hire a woman. Period. Hire a woman.
Hire a woman.
And also, like, super supportive of one another too, right? So, like, it's all of that. Like, we bring all of that to the table.
Yeah, we have a special community, especially in music. I feel like women in music have a really good, like, knack for mentorship too for each other.
Yeah, and I think empathy is also a big thing. Like, we can relate to the people who are coming up and, working as assistants or, interning or whatever, and really wanting to, like, help help them pave the way and help them learn and grow into the next thing. Because I feel like when I was growing up and I was trying to find an internship, or I was trying to figure out how to break into the music industry, there really weren't any women for me to kind of talk to or reach out to when I was in high school. So like being able to really have this kind of like unspoken tribe in a way of like women who lift each other up and support each other and genuinely want to see each other succeed, and, you know, pass along advice and pass along tips, and really taking that in and feel like, you know, it's a part of some sort of like sisterhood or some sort of, you know, group that, you know, really want to see each other grow, is just like paving the way for, you know, what it's going to be like 10, 20 years from now. Hopefully a lot of, you know, women owned companies and just women, you know, paving the way for all of these artists. And especially what I'm passionate about is like women artists. Like I really want to see more of those people succeed, of all different types of artists and different types of personalities, because I feel like that's happening more and more right now. But I think, you know, in a couple of years, it's going to be great to see them dominating all the charts.
Also, I think that's not I think, I need to stop saying that. I love that these new generation of music executives are taking the mean girl factor out of it. Because just to piggyback off of what you were saying, Caroline, when I first came into this almost 9 years ago, there weren't many female executives that were willing to lend a hand or to even give advice. And I just love how the generation that came under that is understanding of how they could be a detriment to someone's dreams, and how they're changing their approach when it comes to, you know, mentorships, and when it comes to actually encouraging people to climb to the next level. Like, it's okay to lend a hand. It's okay to take 5 minutes out of your day just to have a conversation, because that conversation, that intern that intern is going to turn into a mogul. That intern is going to provide a job for the next person that's coming up under us. So I think that is very, very, very important to continue to push that agenda forward and continue to lay that on the forefront for our next generation of female executives.
Because I'm telling you, I heard a story today in our meeting. I'm not sure if you guys heard of or know of Joshua Berkman. He's the senior A&R at Republic. I found out, I don't know if you guys know of Ashley Calhoun. Ashley Calhoun was his intern. And I'm like, nah, she wasn't an intern. He was like, yeah, she had to start somewhere. And I'm just like, no, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. So they always, I'm telling you, the assistants, the runners, the phone answerers, respect them, because they're going to be your next senior vice president.
I want to tell this story. When I first started working at Republic, there was a young lady that was my intern instructor. And I never forget, she told me, "You were a bad intern." She told me that when I was leaving. And I remember her telling me like, "Oh, you're never going to do anything. You're never going to do this, blase, blase, blase." And I end up having the exact same title as her 5 years later. And when I say it was a great feeling, it was a great feeling. And now that we're equals, and technically I can't even say we're equals because I own my own company and she still works for someone. And not saying that that's a slap in the face, because some people have to, you know, do that. You feel me? But it felt good to not be catty back towards her, but just to let my work speak for itself. So the intern definitely can turn into the mogul for sure. And I want to, like I said, push that agenda forward. And I love talking to you guys. That's all I got to really say.
Yes. Go off that. I want to tell a story kind of like that. I don't know if she even remembers, but I met Breon when I was an assistant. And I was an assistant at ICM when I met her, and she instantly, you can tell she follows the like treat everyone like the CEO rule. We were instantly friends. We've been friends since. Now I own my own company and we work with the same kind of artists, and I still like go to Breon for advice and mentorship.
I had just found out I was having my son when I met Olivia. I had just found out I was having a boy maybe like an hour prior. And she caught me in a moment where I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited. I'm running around. I see him telling everybody, it's a boy. So you really never know. Like, it's crazy how much that relationship has blossomed. And I feel like I have 1,000 other stories like that with women in music. It's just how we are.
I want to add to that everybody kind of talks about the glass ceiling, but I read recently that the issue that women have in corporate America in general is the rung between, coordinator and above. That manager level rung, women have a really hard time moving up. So of course, you see a lot of women in assistant or coordinator positions. So for me, because I've had great mentors and I have been able to move up past that position, I always will take the opportunity to kind of reach out to anybody who's new or to the coordinators on our team or anybody who's up and coming to give them whatever advice that I can that, you know, would be helpful for them. Just knowing the fact that like a lot of people kind of struggle to get to that next level. So kind of keeping that in mind and helping them as much as I can is always something I keep in mind too. And then to Caroline's point about artists, like, you know, from a brand partnership standpoint, you always want to offer the best, you know, organic fit for a brand and what they're looking for. But if a woman is that person, you better believe like that's who I'm recommending that they should go for. Like the women artists we have at Sony are incredible. And I think across the board, there's a lot of impressive female artist talent that need to be advocated for. And so just kind of keeping that in mind whenever I can kind of push for them and advocate for them, I definitely do.
Dope.
Amazing, Caitlin. Thank you. So going off of that, we had a question, so I'll kind of incorporate that into this question from the Q&A box. Somebody asked, what advice do you have for a woman looking to get out of the assistant/administrative box?
Can I answer that question?
Please.
Be vocal. You, as an assistant, you see everything. You see where the potholes are. You see where people need, where the company needs help. Go to your boss and be like, hey, listen, I've been an assistant for a year. I've been an assistant for 2 years. This is where I feel like I can be instrumental and help move the company forward. You'll be surprised at how just opening your mouth and speaking the type of job or opportunity that you want into existence, into the atmosphere, will open, the doors are open immediately. That kind of happened to me. I started off as an assistant to someone. I told them, hey, this is what I want to do. 6 months later, I had the position. It took some time. Don't be afraid to hear no, because I heard no 2 times prior to getting the position, but put it out there and watch how it'll manifest and turn into an opportunity of a lifetime.
Yeah, and to add on that, just adding value in general. I feel like wherever you add value and wherever you become a person where your supervisor or your team can't do without you, you're valuable. So definitely find places and pockets where, people are obviously messing up or like not filling holes, but also where you can add value and where you can add your expertise. Because that's always going to be welcomed. We're always looking for better ways to do things, faster ways to do things, more innovative ways to do things. So if you're able to add value to a place where, we were lacking or we weren't like looking in that spot, fill it. Because you'll just, again, like people are going to remember, oh yeah, Breon said to do XYZ, remember? We're going to consider her for another role. We're going to consider her for a promotion. We're going to consider her for the next level. So again, if you're always adding value where you work, or even if you work for your own company, you're always going to win.
Absolutely.
The recommendation that I give too is to, if you like work for a corporation and use Outlook, to make a folder that, mine personally was a smiley face, but anytime that you would get an email saying like, you did a good job on this, we really appreciate your help on this, you file that. So at the end of the year, you have all the receipts to bring up of saying like, here's all the times that I helped you, because within a year, with how quickly things move, you can forget all the projects that you worked on, but just kind of saving all of those things where you went in and saved somebody's ass will help you at the end of the year to be like, hey, here's all the things that I did above and beyond my title, in addition to doing great work. Because to Christina's point, I think you do have to do good work. You have to be valuable. You have to be good at your job. But I think signing up for those, opportunities to go above and beyond, and just making note of those times where you were recognized for that and you did do the extra work, I think is really important.
That's really good advice. What else?
I mean, I think also just knowing your worth. I keep asking, you might hear no, keep trying. I think there also gets to be a point sometimes where the company you're at just doesn't value you as much as you should be valued for the work that you're doing. Recently my friend had been a coordinator for a couple of years, and she was applying to all these jobs and these manager positions, and they were saying, you're not experienced enough. And she kept going until one of them said, yeah, you can be our new manager. Like, we think you'd be perfect for this role. And she's killing it now. And so I think to a certain extent, it's knowing your experience and knowing the value that you bring to the company and making sure that the company knows that value that you're bringing.
I would just quickly add on to that if you're feeling stuck or if you're not feeling sure of your value or whatnot, a book called You Are a Badass changed my life. And I highly recommend that for anyone that maybe is like doubtful of like where they're at, or they're not feeling valued or need that push to kind of move on to that next chapter. Order it today on Amazon. I promise you it's worth it.
I love that book too.
So good.
Awesome. Anyone else want to share some administrative advice? Okay, so now even a little bit of bigger advice. What is some general advice that you have for women who want to work in marketing and brand partnerships?
You have to be very vocal to work in marketing and brand partnerships. There are going to be a lot of times that you have to stand in a room full of people and basically convince them and make them believe in the vision that you have for the artist or you have for the projects that you're working on. You just got to have that confidence and go in there and, you know, make those people believe. Like, it's very important to have that confidence and to be, to just stand firm in what you're saying. It's very, very, very important. Because like I said, in the beginning stages, I was that timid little girl from Louisiana standing in a room, like not sure if I was going to be able to get this supervisor or this artist manager to believe in what I was saying. So confidence is very, very important.
I also think just doing your research as well about what's going on in marketing and trying to pick up on what's, you know, coming up in all different aspects of marketing, whether it's movies, whether it's music, whether it's, you know, tech or anything else, and just showcasing like, oh, we should incorporate, you know, this new single release into this new app that just launched or whatever. Like, I think you just need to keep on showcasing that you are on top of what's happening in the world in marketing and adapting to the times and just bringing in new ideas and never feeling like your idea is like stupid or too far off, because I feel like the most out there ideas are the ones that people really gravitate towards, because especially during this time, I feel like it's more hard to be creative. You really have to push the envelope. So anyone who can really bring in fresh ideas and pull, you know, creativity from a book that they're reading, or, you know, just something else that they see on Netflix or whatever, it can be the most random inspiration, and finding a way to like fine tune that and present people with, you know, some great ideas that you've brainstormed, I think is a really great way to start at whatever level. Like, usually I'll start brainstorming at midnight or 1 a.m. and I'll just like sit there and listen to an artist's discography or something for a couple hours and just start riffing off of it. And that's kind of when I start sending off some of my emails. So I feel like just figuring out the best way for you to get creative and really kind of wrap your head around an artist's audience, or, you know, whatever it is that you're marketing, is a great tool as well.
I think for me and brand partnerships, it's so far, well, the point of brand partnerships is to, you know, make things make sense and make things make sense, like CENTS, make it sense. You gotta have logistics aspect of it. And I think for me, I think that's like the biggest part of it. Sometimes I do get caught up in like trying to make it bigger or better, or make it more interesting. And sometimes you just gotta get it done. So like paying attention, knowing your task at hand, knowing the goal, the marketing goal that you're having has really like helped me kind of just streamline what I want to get done in this brand partnership and how I want it to make sense for both parties. So just like having a goal and like having these goal sets. I see a lot of marketing plans sometimes like don't have these goals, like they're not really sure what their metrics are or what they're really doing in that point. And at that point, it becomes a waste of time. So just kind of just, you know, having your goal and doing everything you can to make your goal and making this project like worthwhile for both parties.
I think the industry research is so important, and staying abreast of kind of what's going on and who's the new hot artist or what's the latest partnership that was awesome. And I think that if there's a way, like when you're applying to a job or kind of reaching out to the contact of who the supervisor would be for that position, if there's a way for you to send an example of like, you know, if it's at a record label, using that artist and coming up with a creative idea to kind of show them from the get-go, like what you can bring to the table, I think is really interesting. But to Caroline's point, kind of just knowing what's going on in the industry and who's doing what is really important as you kind of make a name for yourself and put on the table what you would bring.
Oh, another point, I feel like one thing that sometimes I guess like people in older generations don't want to do this, but you guys really have to listen to the kids. These kids are the fans of these artists. These kids are the ones that are really pushing these artists on social media. You have to really listen to them. I know there was a point in my life where TikTok came out and I'm just like, oh, I don't want to dance. I don't want to get on this app and see other people dancing. Like, I don't want to do that. But like for these past few months, I've been seeing just how well, you know, these kids are taking these creative ideas, these songs, and integrating them into their own personal content, just making funny videos and dancing as well. You guys really got to listen to these kids. The kids are the future, and they really know, what's next. So I think sometimes you have to take a step back and realize, ask your little sister what she's listening to and what she's doing. Ask your little brother, ask what the kids are doing, and they're on TikTok. So get on TikTok. No, I'm kidding, but definitely listen to the kids.
Just to piggyback off of that too, take it to the streets. Like, it's okay to go back to where these people came from, and just take into consideration the environment that they're coming from as well. I think that's very important when it comes to brand activations. I remember when we were working with A Boogie, like we took a big tractor trailer truck back to the Bronx, to High Bridge, and all the kids went crazy because he came home. Like, a lot of times I think we need to also incorporate where these people come from, and the people that supported them from the beginning stages is super important as well.
Yeah, he's really good at local activations. All of the High Bridge label guys are.
Yeah, like in the beginning stages of his career, we were always in High Bridge. We were always in Harlem. We even, went to Queens, just went to the hood and really gave back to those people that were supporting those mixtapes and supporting the merch from the beginning stages. I think it's very important to do that.
It creates a fan experience, and that's what people want. They want to be able to feel you, touch you, hear you, see you in person. People definitely want that. And I feel like, obviously with COVID, it's been a lost cause, but I just think that sometimes people forget the true connection between the artist and the fan. And that's what's really pushing and driving the music, the money, the brand partnerships forward. So yes, the streets are listening. The streets are hot to get on them.
It always hits the streets first. Remember that. Anything that goes mainstream, for the most part, always hits the streets first. It's the culture, that culture always creates the narrative for what's next. So always going back and keeping them in mind is very important.
Especially back to your home city. I know everyone says, oh, your home city doesn't love you. But when you get there and when you make it there, do you see how crazy Drake goes in Toronto? Do you see how crazy Saweetie goes off in the Bay? They're telling you, the streets are, listen to the streets.
Yeah. Listen to the streets.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm in Incc, so I can't speak specifically to the marketing side of things, but just generally advice for young women coming up in the industry: don't be afraid to reach out to the people that you admire. The worst thing that happens is they say they don't have time or they don't respond. No one's ever going to hold it against you for asking for a minute of their time. So always reach out. LinkedIn can be a huge tool for that. You never know what you're going to get out of it. And then once you find the people who you can tell truly care about your success and your career, hold on to them, don't bombard them, but make sure you're still on their mind. Reach out every once in a while, ask them how they're doing, send them a Christmas card, but just have those conversations to make sure that you are keeping up that relationship, because those are going to be the people who, push for your promotion or who tell you about the new jobs and recommend you. It's just so important to identify who really cares about your success in the industry and to just hold on to those people.
The other advice that I've been giving recently too is your network is your net worth. So, wanting to reach out to those, movers and shakers in the industry, but I think also horizontal networking is really important. So, if you are just getting into the industry and want to work in brand partnerships, and I would recommend making a list of the top 10 companies that you want to work at, and going on LinkedIn and seeing who works at that company that has brand coordinator title, and or whatever that you aspire to be, but kind of more at that entry or mid-level. Not only do I feel like they have more time than maybe some of the people at the top of the departments, but I feel like they can give you more realistic feedback as far as what you can expect in that role. So I think it's great to kind of reach out to them and ask them what does your day-to-day look like? What are your responsibilities? Because I think it's great to know going into a potential job, are you just doing expense reports in the calendar all day? Or are you involved in creative ideation and things like that? So kind of just making a list of where you want to be, what those titles are, and connecting with people who are currently in those positions.
Also, too, I want to touch base on the college dropout. Just because you do not graduate college does not mean there isn't room for you in the music industry. A thing that I struggled with was my family was why didn't you finish? Or why didn't you do this? Or why didn't you do that? Your path is your path. So don't allow any of your family's fear or your friends' fear to deter you from going after what you really want. a diploma is not going to open a door for you in our industry like it will open a door for you if you were a doctor or a lawyer. You know, so don't be ashamed or afraid to step outside the box or apply for that internship or to reach out to someone on LinkedIn just because you don't have a diploma. It doesn't stop anything.
That's
Definitely.
important.
And back to what Caitlin said about the horizontal networking, you don't even have to reach up in terms of positions at all. You can look at your own title, look at it across companies, connect with those people. You know, they're the future of the industry. And so sure, maybe they don't have something to offer you right now, but you'll both have something to offer each other, you know, 5-10 years. So they don't have to be higher up. All the connections are so important.
To speak on that, definitely make sure you guys are paying attention to the right now's managers and the directors. Right now, whoever's managing in these managing roles and these director roles, because these are going to be your next like real executives. So please take your time and connect with them. They're really doing the work too. I just want to throw that out there.
Anyone else have last pieces of advice? All right, everyone. Well, that concludes our panel for the night. Thank you all so much for being here, and thank you to our amazing panelists for sharing your wisdom with us tonight.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Olivia.
And everybody, please make sure to go click the link that I put in the chat and vote for us for our South by Southwest panel, please. And have a good night. See you all.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone. Thank you.